So in the IELTS speaking section, there are 3 parts, and I'm going to go through how to do part 2. So this is where the examiner gives you a topic and you're given a minute to think about what you're going to say, you're able to make some notes, and then you have to speak for 2 minutes. One thing I always mention is to make sure you imagine it like you're telling a story to someone. So we tell stories every day, so just treat it that way. It's going to be a story about the past, it might be a story about the future. So either way, you're going to just speak for a couple of minutes. So don't focus on the time, focus on what you're saying, then the time will just fly by. Then as well, focus on the tense that you're asked in. So if they ask you about something in the past, make sure that you speak in the past. If they're asking you about something about the future, speak in the future. That's very important because you have to make sure you speak in the tense that they are asking you the question in. One thing about the past questions is that you have to speak about when. So instead of saying things like, if they ask you about, tell me about your best friend, and one of the things that you have to mention is when you met. You could say, we met in kindergarten. Also, you could say we met at a park, we met because our parents were friends, whatever. That's fine, it's not wrong, but examiners want you to use things like more natural phrases. When I say natural phrases, I mean phrases that native speakers use like every day. So instead of saying, I met him in kindergarten, you could say, I met him way back when. Way back when, or you could say, we go way back. So those 2 phrases mean a long time ago. We've known each other for a very long time. So you could say, my best friend and I go way back. We met in kindergarten. I met my best friend way back when, in kindergarten. Now you could also say forever and a day. It means for a long time, but it's not just for friendships or anything like that. It's also about how long you've been doing something. So if someone asked you, how long have you worked in this job? You could say, oh, I've been working here forever and a day for 15 years. So those are the kind of phrases you can use. Also, if you're asked things like, tell me about when you got your first bike, talk about things like, again, it could be your best friend. One thing that you could do is, even if you remember exactly when, I definitely recommend pretending that you don't. Because even if we, as native speakers, sometimes might not be exactly sure, we also not pretend, but you could pretend you don't, because there's a specific phrase that you can use that will help you to speak a little bit longer and speak more like a native speaker. So if someone says, when did you get your first bike? You could say, I was 6 when I got my first bike. That's fine. It's not wrong, but it's a very short part to give an answer to. So it's a very, very short sentence. So instead, you could say things like, I don't remember exactly when. I'm not exactly sure when. I'm not sure how old I was exactly. So throw in a discourse marker or filler at the beginning. Well, I'm not sure how old I was. So that's what you could say. Well, I don't remember exactly how old I was. So these are things you can say. And then you can add in, but from what I can remember, I was, and then make it even more uncertain by doing it like it's a question. I am not sure exactly how old I was, but from what I can remember, I was 6, 7, and then we have a phrase that says thereabout. So if you say thereabout, it means approximately. You could also say give or take. So give or take means approximately. You can use it before or after. So I was give or take 7. I was 7 give or take. I was 7 thereabout. We also have about, we have around. You can say around, about together. I was around 7. I was about 7. I was around about 7. These are very useful phrases. So instead of just, I met my best friend when I was 6. Or you could say, I got my first bike when I was 6. Well, I don't remember exactly how old I was, but from what I can remember, I was 6 or 7, give or take. See? So this is the kind of thing you have to say. So make sure that you add in lots of those kind of details in the second speaking section. You can also use a phrase for the past saying sometime back, which means kind of a little bit of a long time ago, but also you could say a little while ago. Now it's subjective, so if you say a little while ago, it could be a few minutes ago or a few hours ago. It's subjective because it depends on what the person feels. You could say, we met a little while ago, like a few weeks ago, a few months ago, but that could be some time back for someone else. Some time back is a little bit longer than that. So these are very useful phrases. In the second speaking section, make sure that you don't just read like this. You have to make sure that you actually speak. So speak to the examiner by looking at them. Just don't look at the floor the whole time. Don't look down all the time. Speak to them because they are human. Just remember that they're human. Just tell them the story that you're doing. One thing as well that I highly recommend is to make sure that you look at your notes. Don't read, do look though. So I think the best thing to do is when you're making the notes, make them in terms of ways that you can actually remember things to say. So write down like 1 or 2 words that will prompt you to remember what you were going to say about that. And do it numerically. So number 1, what was the first thing you were going to talk about? So number 1, number 2, number 3, and then make your notes that way. And then when you're actually talking and you're looking at your notes like this, when you look at number 2, you'll say, okay, that's what I was going to say next. So that will help you remember what to say. So that will be a good way of just keeping the flow going, because you have to keep speaking until the examiner says stop. So in the first and third sections, you can stop when you're kind of done, when you feel you've said enough. But in the second section, you have to keep going till the examiner stops you. It's very important. When you know that you were going to say something next, but you've forgotten what it was, one thing that's important is to not remain silent. So when you're thinking about what you were going to say next and you're looking at your notes and you say, and you might panic and you might do some nervous laughter where people say, so the thing about that is that will make you panic a little bit more. You might get more nervous and you might forget what you were going to say. So definitely make sure that you say something when you're looking at your notes. So what you could do is, let's say these are your notes here. And what you can do is you can say these things. So when you're looking at your notes, you say, and also, what else was I gonna say? Or, what else can I say? Let me see, just a second. And then say, oh yeah. So then when you say, oh yeah, that makes you say, oh yeah, I remember what I was gonna say next. And then just keep going. So one thing as well in the second speaking section is that you just need to keep the flow going. Now, it's not important to speak about everything that's on the paper, because they will say like, you should say this, 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 and this, but it's most important to just make sure you stick to those things. If you don't talk about all of them, it's okay. But I recommend talking about all of them because that will ensure that you keep speaking for 2 minutes. So I always think it's important to speak about everything that's on the topic on the card. It's definitely a very good idea to make sure that you use idioms in the second section. And there are times when you can just put idioms in at any particular stage, because we have a phrase that says, I got a frog in my throat. That's when you're not really able to breathe properly. So you're either swallowing or you start coughing through the back of your throat while you're in the middle of speaking. So it's like interrupting your speaking. Sorry, I got a frog in my throat. Anyway, see, like that. So it's, I got a frog in my throat. So make sure that you say it correctly. Because if you're not sure if you're saying it correctly, just don't say it. Because I had one student one time who said, I am a frog in my mouth. And that ruined his speaking for him then because he wasn't sure. He said, was that correct? So make sure that you just keep going. One thing as well, to make sure that you don't panic or anything like that, if you make a mistake or if you mess things up, just keep calm, take a breath and just say, sorry, I'm going to start over. Or, excuse me, let me say that again. Let me start again. Just go back, And if you notice that you made a mistake, just say, I mean, and then say the correct versions. You could say, yeah. So for example, if you wanted to say, I was shopping, but you say, I shopping, and you remember that you forgot the was, the verb, you say, so at that time I shopping, oh, excuse me, I was shopping anyway, and keep going. So from that's the best thing that you can do in that case, because it's showing that you're aware of your mistakes, that you're going to correct them. Because if you say I shopping, I was shopping. Sorry, if you do it that way, you'll panic, and that will mess things up because you might then forget what actually you were trying to say next. So make sure you just keep calm and keep it going that way. So yeah, that's what I would say for section 2. There's a lot more things that I'm guessing you could do. One thing that you can definitely do is add in more idioms, but that's the thing that they're listening for, and they are in a video on this course. So if you want to check them out, have a look at them. But we're going to move on to the next course now.